Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Best Books Ever. I'm Tyler, and today we are finishing The Lightning Thief, Rick Riordan, chapters 11, not 11, 12 through 22. The end of it. The end of it. Very good first part. I think I mentioned it last week, but I was very, um, I don't know, kind of like wary about coming back to this series because, I haven't read it in a while, and also coming off of Mistborn, which is the other series um, that I did before this. Go check that out if you haven't. It's also just not only just my episodes, but also the series in general. Very good. I was like, I was going to compare to that or whatever, but last week covering the first half of the book, I was like, wow, I actually remember liking this, and now reading it again, it's like, oh, this is good. This is some good stuff. Obviously, very different writing styles. Definitely catered more towards a younger audience than Mistborn is. You can tell with just like one of the things that stands out with this book is definitely the pacing, where it's like things happen very quickly in this book. You don't have a lot of time to really sit with anything really, and probably has to do with a younger audience, right? Because maybe shorter attention spans, but um, they get through a lot, and even though things are very quick, talk about like the like crusty thing, right? When they were in the mattress store, like that whole sequence, very, very quick. They did not spend a lot of time on that at all, but it was important. Um, to just kind of introduce new mythical being, or I guess not mythical, but you know, in the world, like mythical thing. Just like more danger, more world building sort of stuff. Um, and also to like spark conversation between the group. So it was necessary, but I like how it wasn't, we didn't spend like forever on it or but this is the end of the book. A few things we gotta talk about, right? So obviously we start off with the end as we always do, and let's see, the very end is a little bittersweet, I think. Um, if we just focus on our main trio here, we have Grover. Awesome stuff, right? He finally got his searcher's license after his second try, right? Because the first thing with Thalia, Luke, Annabeth didn't go over very well. So he finally got his searcher's license, able to look for Pam now, or Pan, not Pam, the cooking spray. Love that, right? Grover, I think I said it last time too, where Grover, I think very easily could be pitted into just like the like comic relief role in the trio, where Percy is like protagonist, um, you know, very, definitely more of a fighter, definitely more of like, we're going to get through this. And you got Annabeth, who's kind of more like reason, she's the more intelligent, more logical, more like calculating. And so that kind of leaves Grover in this weird, like, again, like comedic relief spot. He's the friend, who will once or twice in the story kind of pull it out for you, but he has more than that. He has his own dreams and path in life he wants to follow. So for him to finally get his searcher's license, look for Pan, um, it's huge for him. But it's unfortunate because now he's gone. You would think, oh, we're gonna get this trio for the rest of the series, right? There's 5 books, I guess 6 books technically, and there's more coming or whatever. So you think, oh, Grover, this is Grover, Annabeth, Percy, but the book ends with him leaving, and even Annabeth is like, oh, we'll see him again, and Percy in his mind is like, I want to believe that, but no satyr has ever looked for Pan and made it back. They've always disappeared, whether that be dying or that be um, losing their way, getting lost, whatever. Um, so it's unfortunate because now we're like, I don't know, will we ever see Grover again? You know, will we actually see him again? Will he become part of the group again? Like I said, there's more books, so we're assuming more quests and stuff. But maybe they switch it up. Maybe Percy and Annabeth are kind of the core, and they have new people around them. Maybe just Percy is being the protagonist. Maybe Annabeth isn't even really there. I mean, the way this ends, going right into that, we got Annabeth hitting us out of nowhere with the fact that she is leaving for the summer or for the year. She's not just staying there, but she is getting it all twisted because it's normally opposite of what you think a summer camp would be, right? Um, Annabeth is going back to her family, which would have never happened if it wasn't for Percy, right? Percy was the one that was like, well, maybe give him a chance. Maybe he does really love you, and um, just giving up like that, and so him coming into that, feeling like he's had such a hard life, which he definitely has, but him being like, dang, like aside from my godparent, um, I do have like my other parent also does actively care for me, right? With his mom Sally, and so to look at that and be like, her mortal parent, she's not really able to have a relationship with him. Um, Very unfortunate, but now we're back and give it another shot. I think we all hope it goes very well for her because you know you know deep down she really does want to have that relationship. I mean, who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't want to have a healthy relationship like that? But um, it's tough because it's not even really him. Like there is still fault on his side, obviously. Like that is his daughter. Like he shouldn't allow his new wife or whatever to dictate if he's allowed to see his daughter and like enjoy her company and love her basically. But I think there's a little bit of leeway because it's like he's not the one who's necessarily trying to push you away. At least not anymore, right? He has apologized recently. He has, stuck out that olive branch, right? Um, so we'll see. Hopefully we get back. And Annabeth is like, it's great relationship with my dad. Stepmom has softened, or at the very least, my dad hasn't been able to kind of dampen her worry and just like even just on the outside, where it's like on the inside she still hates my guts, but on the outside she holds her tongue. Um, that'd be great though, because Annabeth, again, main character is Percy, but you look at Annabeth and you're like, Annabeth's life has been harder. She had to run away at 7. She's been living at a camp where these people, the fellow campers, are her friends and family at this point. But like, at least Percy was able to see his mom, right? See his mom for the remaining 6 years between 7 and 13. Um, so yeah, and then aside from that, right, we have Grover leaving, searching for Pan. We got Annabeth going home. Percy also decides to go home. Um, wasn't I didn't remember that. I was trying to remember like where did this line was it him staying to train and him gonna be lonely like that? Because I remember there was again bittersweet ending to this. I don't remember exactly how it was, but it is him actually going back home because there's the obvious kind of wrestling happening in his mind where it's like, okay, staying here, we got the pros and cons, right? So like if he stays at Camp Half Blood, he can train more. Obviously, there's something big coming. We got Kronos, which we'll talk about in a second. Um, we got that whole thing. Obviously, Chiron kind of subtly wants him to stay. Um, and then also staying at camp, I think the big thing that probably almost kept him here was if I go there, if I go to, if I stay in New York, go to, go to the private school, the mom, all that stuff. Am I putting my mom in danger? Because now, now the stepfather's not there anymore to give off that like aura or whatever to cloud him. Which honestly, now that I think about it, probably wouldn't work that much anymore. Now that he's kind of hit the radar of everyone, the gods, the monsters, all that stuff. But um, still, like him maybe putting her in danger. Um, but I think at the end of the day, he decided to stay because he's like, or he decided to go home because it's like, I have to. I can't just sit here and hide. I have to go out there, and even you remember something Annabeth said, where she's like, I've been here for years, but outside is where the real monsters are. That's how you know if you're good or not, because everything is in a very controlled environment at camp. So there's probably a little bit of that hit him too, where he's like, hey, maybe I don't want to fight any monsters. I don't want to put my mom in danger, but if I can survive out there, maybe there'll be a little bit of boosted confidence for him. Like, hey, maybe I got this. Maybe not to like fight Kronos if it ever gets to that point, or fight Ares again, right? Um, but a little bit of like survivalist type mindset going into it. So um, that's kind of how we're gonna smoothly transition into the next book, Sea of Monsters. Um, I'll probably wait to talk about that though. Any sort of predictions and stuff going into the next book. So um, some other notable things. Like I said, this book goes through a lot of different stuff very quickly, right? It doesn't really sit with a lot of stuff. We don't really sit in one spot for very long. Um, we got the whole the whole Medusa thing happened, the whole water park thing, the casino. Like we hit a lot of different places in this book. We don't stay in one for particularly long. Um, but there are a couple things out of those that I think are worth mentioning, like Ares's fight with Percy. Like I said, we have that earlier at the diner, moves to the casino. We got the water park. Those all have to do with Ares. But I think the fight is the very important thing. Crazy that Percy won. That's obviously that's the big thing. Um, End of the day, I think if Ares was going full blown, Percy wouldn't have lasted 5 seconds. But just the fact that he was able to survive, was able to land a blow on Ares. We got like the gold blood or whatever pouring out. Um, that's huge. I think that proves just how skilled and just how innately talented and important of a half blood that he is. Again, him being a child of one of the big three definitely shows that off right here. Um, so yeah, that itself, the fight was cool. Probably our biggest instance, our most like active instance of the mist, and that's something that we have to keep reminding ourselves of, is that the mist, very much clouds mortals' vision so that they can't really see what's really going on there. They thought they were both holding guns, um, you know. It also, at the end of the day, helped them, right? Because the mist is also a very nice way to say, hey, humans kind of dumb. Humans love looking for reasons. They love to rationalize why something that shouldn't be possible is happening in front of their eyes, because everything needs to be understood. You know, um, your brain won't let you look at something and not understand it. It has to come up with a reason, even if the reason is almost as ridiculous as what the actual thing is, right? Um, so that was really cool. And then, um, there's a big outcome, right? Like him getting learning the truth about the bolt, him getting the helm, all that stuff is important. But one thing I think is something that we should all remember going forward, because it was very ominous, was Ares saying that he is now his enemy, right? You've now made an enemy of a god, and he says something like, every time you lift up a sword, uh, I forget exactly what he says, but it was something like that, where it's like, anytime you're in battle, you better watch your back, sort of thing, because he's the god of war. So you figure anytime from this point on that Percy wants to fight, it's going to be a little bit of resistance. Not saying the sword will magically float in the air and then drive itself into Percy's chest, but might not have as much of an edge as he normally would if Ares was not his enemy. Not very good. Seeming he's probably gonna have to go on more quests. Like I said, there's 4 more books. It's probably not gonna be 4 books of him just chilling at camp and everything is fine. Everything just kind of takes care of itself. Probably not gonna happen. That's something I wanted to mention. And then I guess Kronos. Yeah, Kronos kind of leads to everything else. Kronos is in Tartarus. That's something that we found out. They went to Hades. Hades being this god, very scary, right? Underworld, all that stuff. And then they introduced Kronos, the father of Zeus, and fa- father of all the gods. Is that how that works? Right? Oh yeah, because Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades are brothers, right? They're all brothers. Well, I guess they're all related, right? That's how the gods work. Um, that is one thing that I really like about this is that I think Hades is a very easy character to make the villain, and that is kind of what they did, and that is why there was the whole like bait, the big bait and switch with Hades and the bolt and the helm and all that stuff because he's the god of the underworld. I think that's a very easy thing for a writer to just be like, oh well, Hades is the bad guy because he's in the underworld. He's separate from all the gods. You know, underworld. Being what it is. Um, but for them to do this and say, oh no, Hades wasn't trying to instigate a war. And in fact, he himself had something stolen from him. And that's the only reason why he was putting his hat in the ring because he couldn't put his helm in the ring because it was stolen. Um, and then at the end, for Poseidon to be like, "Oh yeah, your mom is back. Yeah, Hades, Hades returned her as soon as you returned the helm." It's like, oh, he's not just like an evil dude. He's just like any of the other gods. Again, he was put there as god of the underworld. He didn't choose that. He wasn't like, like wringing his hands, waiting for the opportunity to be like. So them kind of having that and be like, oh no, Kronos though. Kronos is the one you want to work, the one you want to watch out for. Um, that was big. We don't know too much about him, other than the little bit of, you know, familial ties that they've kind of told us. Sliced him up into pieces, all that stuff. But all we know is that Poseidon said, he stirs every so often. It's not a big thing. Him leaving Tartarus, not even a thought we would, not even a possibility. That is unheard of. And then I love Percy, Percy being like, yeah, yeah, but he said that's what he wants to do, and then Poseidon just stays silent. It's like, oof. Um, but yeah, just again, the introduction of Kronos is like, oh, that's the bad guy, right? Like in this book, we had Hades being seemingly the bad guy, then we had Ares kind of there, and then but them kind of establishing by the end of this book, Kronos is the one. Kronos is the one that's pulling the strings. He's the one that seemingly we're gonna have to watch out for. Um, and we know nothing about him. We don't know the real extent of his power. Um, we don't know what he plans to do. If it is just like destroy the world, you know. So, but someone who gave us a little bit of hints here and there was Luke. We have Percy remembering the prophecy that the oracle gave him, right? And the one real thing that hits him is the friend betrayal, right? Because like Grover didn't betray him, Annabeth didn't betray him. He was trying to rationalize Ares to be like, oh, Ares sort of pretended to be my friend. But even that, you read that and you're like, did he? I feel like from the beginning it was very transactional. Luke is the one, right? And it's very clear as day, especially when you reread it. Very clear as day, where he finds Luke, and Luke has a sword that's both steel and celestial bronze, and it's like, that doesn't seem right. Why would you need a sword made of steel? Like, half-bloods, Chiron said earlier, half-bloods should never harm other mortals unless it's absolutely necessary, absolutely necessary. So for him to have a specially made half and half sword, that's a red flag. And there were smaller ones too, like him having a 6-pack of Coke is like, where'd you get that, bud? Where'd you get that? That doesn't, huh? So, and then him also wanting to go in the woods and train. It's like, that's a weird time to do that, don't you think? Um, but, I love the reveal because Luke is a character that from the beginning, he is, he's presented to us as very trustworthy. He's kind of one of the elders of all of them. He's been there kind of the longest, longer than anyone. He came in with Annabeth, but I mean, he's also older than Annabeth. So even if they came at the same time, he's still like, I think he's like a few years older, maybe something like that. Um, so he is kind of, kind of seen as one of the elder campers, right? He kind of has that energy, right? He helped Percy earlier on with the getting him all the toiletries when he first entered cabin. Was it 11? I think cabin 11. Um, he was helping them train with the sword, all that stuff. He gave him the shoes. Um, we know that Annabeth likes him, so there's that connection there. So yeah, a lot of stuff pointing away from him being the one to betray, but then for that to be him, I think that is a betrayal to the reader as well. Because other stories you may read, it's like, oh, clearly it's that guy. How does the main character not see this? But you can't always think that way because us being the reader, we are omniscient, or omniscient, yeah, omniscient, right? We could see a lot of stuff, especially if the book is written in like a third person perspective or if it changes perspectives, right? This one doesn't though. This one's always Percy. Um, so yeah, for it to be Luke, and not only for it to be Luke, for it to like really be Luke, like he summons a death scorpion. Like I said, him now wielding that half and half sword is just scarier because it's like, oh, has he killed people? Like not monsters, has he killed people? Um, him like speaking of Thalia, him talking about how his whole quest, him like hating that because he just went on a Hercules copycat quest. Um, the way he was talking about security at Mount Olympus, the way and then how he exits with him. From what I read, he like sliced open a darkness portal and disappeared. It's like, what power does he have? Like, was that a magic item or was that Kronos kind of eking him a small fraction of his power? A lot of questions there. But then also him talking about kind of what he feels needs to be done. I feels like the gods, their Western civilization is a disease, needs to be wiped out, started by someone new. Very strange to me though to side with Kronos. It's like Kronos came before the gods. Like he failed once. So it's, because normally when you talk about a change in the guard, right? You normally think of a younger generation overthrowing the older generation, which happened multiple times. Like it was passed down. So for you to now throw out the kids and replace them with the father, it's strange. It normally happens the other way, but older guard taking back their claim from it's strange. I don't know. But yeah, again, huge reveal, right? That's why it happened at the end. Huge reveal for it to be Luke, and now we have Luke scampering around, right? Most likely not in the camp anymore. Probably seeing Kronos, probably running off doing little missions for him. Um, and it hurt Annabeth because as soon as that happened, not the first thing, but one of the first things I thought of was, how's Annabeth going to really react? Because we know that Annabeth had something for him. And also, like, they came in together, they shared that experience. So, and they've also been around each other for 7 years at this point, being at camp. So, you know that her Annabeth honestly probably played a little bit of a decision into her going back home to be like, I just need to not be here, I think, for a little bit and kind of sort out my thoughts. That's tough though. That's so unfortunate. um, and then I guess just to mention um, the scorpion as well, because the scorpion bit him. He went into the water and it didn't heal him. Um, Interesting there. I don't know if that was meant to be an important moment for us to remember that, for us to like make something out of that, or if I'm just overthinking it. But it not healing, I wonder why. I wonder if it was literally just too strong, and it's like, hey, I can't, Besides, like, hey, the little water healing stuff doesn't work like that. Or if there was some rule, like there was like a special scorpion or something, like, oh, it's of Kronos, so I'm literally not strong enough to do it or something. I don't know. Um, yeah, just wanted to mention that though. Maybe something to think about, or maybe it's nothing. Um, and then I guess the last thing before we move on to like predictions and transitioning to the next book, is Sally, Percy's mom. We have that moment where he goes back, reunited with his mom, happy moment, um, very emotional moment. A few things happen, right? We learn that Gabe has been hitting the mom at least once, probably more than once though. Probably been, Percy thinks that it probably just happens when he's not around. That immediately, because up until this point, he's obviously a character that we're supposed to hate, right? Out of all the characters in the book, really the only character we hate. Like even Ares, we're like, he's the god of war. Like I don't know, he's just misguided. Like he's being puppeted, just like even Luke. It's like I don't know that I hate Luke. Like I want him to lose. I don't know that I want him to die. Like I don't know. I'm like Luke shouldn't exist. Um, he's also being manipulated. The stepfather though, nah. Like up until that point where like very much want Sally to leave him. Um, but we get up until that point because it's explained to us that, well, she puts up with it because she knows about like the aura thing. It like masks, it's really the only thing strong enough to mask your own aura, you being the son of Poseidon. But after that though, man, domestic violence, nah. At that point, I'm like, die. Immediately, jail is too easy for you. Jail is too soft. I want him to not exist anymore. And then for them to pull out the Medusa head and Percy be like, him not immediately go for it, because he's thinking, he's like, is this just like, what's the right decision here? And then for him to like push the mom, like I love how Percy talks to his mom in this scene because you know she even says something about how like, oh, you sound just like your father, whatever. But like Percy being like, he hits you, right? Like you deserve so much more than this. Him talking about the dad and being like, uh, you know, the father said that you are what did he say? You are a queen amongst humans. He hasn't met someone like you in 1,000 years. And the mom being like, Percy, kind of being like embarrassed about it, and like Percy just going off about like a new life, a new place to live. You don't deserve this. You can end the. And then Sally um, responds to that being like, I get it, but you must understand this as well. I'm sure is that I need to live my own life. I can't have a god. I can't have my son, fix my problems for me. And I just felt that was a very good moment and a very um, good showing of her character. I think it makes her a lot stronger in that moment because the easy choice would be, all right, give me the head. let me turn him to stone. But for her to be like, no, I'm going to do this myself. I'm not going to have you fix it for. I'm not going to have you go out there and plop the head on the table. Turn him like I'm not going to have you like I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to deal with this the way I feel like I should deal with it. Um, Now, while all that is true and the succeeding events do not take anything away from it, her writing back like a week later saying, hey, he's gone. He's missing. I don't know what happened to him. And like her not really writing what happened, maybe just because they're afraid maybe they'd be able to trace it or something. I know that I don't know, like just later on, like police stuff, like tracing mail or whatever. They don't want to say anything specific in it. Maybe that's her thoughts, but us finding out later that she did in fact turn him to stone and sold it. Not only turned to stone, but sold it and made so much money off it that she was able to get a new apartment and put down her first, like her first like semester's tuition or whatever for NYU is incredible. Um, I think this is really nice. I think not an original thought, but I do remember there being some conversation or whatever around back when I think but back when these books first came out and they first became super popular. One of the shining whatever, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. One of the things that people like to point out is that uh, him not being a character that gets redeemed is very refreshing, because lots of other stories would have redeemed his character, would have had him feel some remorse. There would have been some moment or something. I don't know. Probably some sort of like monster attack or whatever, and you know, maybe in the presence of a god or something. There would have been some sort of weird, like spiritual moment where he would have realized that he's been a terrible person. He's been a terrible husband. Well, I don't know if they're married. Pretty sure they're not married. Um, he's been a terrible partner, a terrible stepfather, and he would have like apologized and begged on his knees for forgiveness or whatever, and they would have tried to like mend it and make it better. And maybe maybe it probably would have ended with like them separating, but them still trying to have contact and him still try whatever, right? They didn't do that though. They're like, no, he's an awful person through and through. He does not get a redemption, and that's great. Um, and yeah, it's awesome, and also like great for her able to finally start living a life that she wants to live. Again, it makes that decision so much harder, I think, for Percy, because he wants to be with her, especially with him out of the picture. He can finally like they can finally spend quality time together and not have to worry about anything. Or I guess on a human level, not have to worry about anything. I guess now that there's monsters and gods and stuff have truly entered the mix, they have to worry about that. But um, before he made his decision, there's again that like wrestling that happens where it's like we both know that if I go back and live with her for the year, it's going to put us in danger. It just is. It's going to put us at least in the risk of danger. But we both just so much so wish that wasn't true. And that feeling is, as we see here, it is just strong enough for him to be like, I'll take my chances, you know. Um, so that's great. We'll see, Again, now moving to transition to the second book. What are our thoughts here? I'm sure, like I said, there's no pretending here. Like, I've read the books, but without spoilers, we know there's 4 more books in the original series. I know there's been a 6th book that's released recently that's kind of added on, and I think there's more planning, whatever. But like the original series was the first 5 books. We know there's 4 more. We know there's stuff that's going to happen, right? I would imagine, based off of this, I mean, it'd be cool if we kind of pick up. I reading this and without knowledge, just kind of going off of what is in the book. I would say it'd be weird for us to like time jump to the summer and be like, okay, summertime, we're all back. Percy and Annabeth are gonna start training again. Grover maybe. I mean, I can't imagine he finds Pan in a year. That would be unreasonable. But something like I would think that they're probably gonna pick up sometime in the middle of the year. Before the summer, maybe like Percy, having great time with the mom or whatever. Maybe him talking about like how they have had a couple run-ins with monsters, but it hasn't been anything crazy. It hasn't been like the Minotaur or anything. Just like small stuff. And then I'm sure something interrupts it, right? Like we do have that first real big monster moment, and it does, for some reason, drive him back, and he has to quit school again, which sucks because it's another year. Another school that he's not able to finish the year in. And, they're all very appreciative, or, Percy and Sally are very appreciative of the time they were able to spend together, but it drives him back to Camp Half-Blood, and there's some other quests they have to go on, right? It's called the Sea of Monsters. That's the next book, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a sea and monsters somewhere. So I'm sure that's probably something that happens, right? Like they kind of pick up in the middle of that, and for some reason he has to go on a quest. Um, like I said, I love the trio. I love a good friend group in a story. Um, I don't know how they would get the friend group back though. Like Annabeth did mention Iris messages, so maybe he contacts her and is like, "Hey, another quest," you know. But then if Annabeth's having a good time, I don't know that she'd want to come. But then maybe she, she knows. I mean, especially if it has anything to do with Luke, they did make that promise of like when we get back in the summer, first things first is we are getting a quest to go after Luke, and if we don't, we'll sneak out anyway. So I guess maybe if it does have something to do with Luke, she would agree and she would maybe not want to leave, but she'd be like, hey, we got to go. Grover, though, is the tough one. If we're going to get our trio back together for anything. Because, I mean, if he's going to Pan, I mean, I'm sure maybe he keeps in contact with Chiron, but, like, I mean, I could totally see this book just not having Grover in it, or like the majority of the book not having Grover in it and be like, yeah, Grover's off doing his own thing. We can't pull him away from that. That's not fair. That is his life's mission. So maybe get someone else. Obviously, before the betrayal, we would have thought maybe Luke. Um, there's not really another named characters that are like Clarice, but I can't imagine they would want to work with her. I don't know how that would go. So maybe a new character gets introduced. Maybe a new camper that kind of rises and it's like, let's go. Whatever. Um, yeah, something like that. But yeah, I imagine that's probably what would happen is that they're living their life, they're living it to the best that they can as half bloods, and then something happens, new quest, and the Sea of Monsters. I don't know if Sea of Monsters. I mean, Sea of if it literally is a place, Sea of Monsters. I imagine that's probably where they're going, um, based on the accuracy of this book's title, The Lightning Thief, where it's literally someone stole the lightning bolt. you know. Um, but yeah, that's probably it there. And we'll see how like all the gods are incorporated into this one, and if it has to do with Kronos at all, because they're kind of building that up a little bit. But yeah, that is this book. Good time, good time. Like I said, I enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I was going to. Because like I said, I was a little wary that it was going to hold up, but I think it does. We'll see what the other books have in store. Next time, like I said, we're doing book 2 of this, The Sea of Monsters. Um, we're going to cover chapters 1 through 10. Again, the first half. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Till next time, read that. We'll be able to cover that. And let me know, let me know what you thought of the first book, any sort of predictions going into the next one. And we can see what happens with Percy this time. Hopefully, Sally is safe in this book.